I did not know that, but that's pretty bad.
No, I didn't know that at all.
Yeah, I've heard that very recently. It's been on the news.
Yeah, I have heard it a little bit more.
I can see why, because men don't like to open about anything, do they? And women, we talk to each other a lot more.
I mean, that would kind of make sense, because guys are told to kind of shut up about their emotions, aren't they? Like, there's no kind of... They're not allowed to be open in case of ridicule.
Kind of been through depression myself, so, like, I sort of get it.
I think it's sad that sort of men have always been brought up to believe that they're not allowed to say anything.
I didn't know that, no.
No, I didn't know that at all.
Yeah, I did know that.
I didn't.
No.
I didn't, but I can see how it could happen.
I did know that, actually.
Yeah.
Depression's getting a lot worse.
I don't want to say, but I think it started to appear in urinals in men's toilets.
People don't really see depression as a thing, and that's quite bad.
Hello, my name is David Peters. My job title is Senior Student Support Officer, and I'm based in the Faculty of Arts and Humanities. And my role is dealing with pastoral issues with students, and that could be pretty much anything, in fact, including mental health related issues. If there are students who present and it's clear they have a mental health issue, and I need to signpost them to counselling, for example, our counselling services or their own GP, it tends to be females. I'm not really sure why that is. I mean, there is quite a stigma around young men in particular discussing this kind of thing. I don't think they feel comfortable doing it, so I would say it's definitely top heavy with females. So if you are a young man out there who thinks he's got, whatever it might be, feels unhappy, down, sad, depressed, etc., it's not a weakness to discuss it and talk. Personally, I believe it's exactly the opposite. It's a strength to be able to express yourself, talk to somebody, whoever that is, get it off your chest, and get some support with it.
I was diagnosed with depression last year. They put me onto these the therapist, but it was over the phone. You're talking to someone over the phone, it's like therapy. But I did that a couple of times. I know for therapy to work, you have to stick with it for months on end, but I just was so depressed that I didn't even want to talk to anyone first. So I don't think therapy it works for some people, but for some people, mental illnesses, they're so different to every different person.
It's not really, you can't really judge it over the phone, I'd say, to be honest. I mean, I'd always say just go once. I went again over I think I went last summer, because I had a bit of a relapse, if that's the right word. So yeah, I went to it then, but personally, I haven't found the right counsellor, I don't think. But I am planning on going again, but for me, medication helps more than the counselling. But that's just personal experience.
There are a lot more students these days, and I think actually the stats do back it up from what I've read anyway, presenting with mental health issues. I'm not sure if that means it's increased. Maybe it's just people feel more comfortable speaking about it, and therefore they are doing it now, whereas maybe 10, 15 years ago they didn't want to speak about it, or perhaps the services weren't there for them to speak about it. Now we have those services. Most universities, or all universities, have counselling services, have support services. So there is an area of space where students can talk about that.
Within philosophical and psychological discourse, there's a massive array on depression, and I think that's mainly because it's misunderstood. And I think one of the most difficult things for people to do is understand when a person is suffering from depression, what they are going through. And I think one of the most important things in those cases is a use of empathy, perspective taken, and non-judgment.
I think it's a very taboo subject at the moment, in the sense of people, unfortunately, you can't see it. And I think that we're in a world where we have to see things, and because it's going on in another person's mind, we find it very difficult to understand. And I think that's why people tend to brush it off as they'll be okay, or they need to stop worrying, when in actual fact for the person suffering, it's a real thing. It's a real thing going on, and I think that it's important that the more people that speak out, the better.
I study fashion and art, but my passion is raising awareness for mental health. So I started up my own business, Made by Georgia May, where I make all different handmade gifts. And it's all about getting people to share on social media how they're feeling, so just to make it more normal, like to see people post on Facebook.
But it's also, you know, the family and friends around you that recognise those signs and make those suggestions.
Lads are meant to be lads, really. But yeah, we have obviously all of the same problems, mentally. But yeah, it's for lads, you're just not meant to vent it to other lads. You're meant to just not feel. So it's just one of them, isn't it?
I think the whole idea of masculinity and that I think it's a very British stigma as well, the whole idea of stiff upper lip. It's really negative in the way that it pressures men to contain their emotions, and it pressures men into believing that these emotions are normal. And I think that stigma has to be diminished over time.
If they're your friends and you tell them you get really depressed and stuff like that, they're not going to say, all right, fuck off then. You know what I mean? They're not going to say, all right, stop talking to me. It's nothing like that. It's just getting past that awkward. Well, people think it's going to be awkward, that awkward first conversation or first time you bring it up, but it's not awkward. It's just a fact about yourself. It's a weird, uplifting feeling when someone says they understand. It's just an odd feeling. It's a bit of more of a. It's quite hard keeping certain. When you're down, for me personally, if I feel alone, I'm even more down. But just talking to my sister or my friends or something like that, it really. They kind of think, oh, well, you can talk to me if you need to, type thing. So it kind of makes me feel a bit uplifted.
It was a full year before I even thought about telling my family about it. You know, my friend Matt, I worked with him, and he went through depression a lot. He had it really bad himself, and he was the first person I told, and he advised me to go to the doctors, the same one he went to. Well, he'd been going through it before me, and I think he could tell that I was going through it. And we used to just meet up and have a coffee and talk about it and stuff, and that was really good.
It doesn't make you a better or worse person if you feel like this. It's okay to not be okay, and I think that it's important to talk about your issues with people and if you're feeling trapped in your world, if you're feeling alone, know that there are people around you that are there to support you.
I think what the depressed person also needs to know is that there are so many people like him with the same experience group that are going through exactly the same thing. In psychology, a lot of work has been done in treatment of depression, and although things like lithium and antidepressants do help, they are often not sort of definitive in their effectual nature. A massive treatment for depression is cognitive behavioural therapy, and what's sometimes called Torgen therapies. And it shows what relieving, how much it relieves of a person.
At the time, I didn't really want to go on medication, but over a period of time, it kind of gets a bit tiring. Yeah. I feel like I'm uphill at the moment. So I went on the medication when I was something like 17. That's when I got put on antidepressants. 17 or 18, I think it might have been 18. And ever since then, I'm not sure if it was a placebo effect, but I felt better within weeks. I did try and come off it this summer, but again, I'm not sure if that's because I knew that I wasn't taking it. That's when I had a bit of a really downtime, so I decided to go back on them again. But I mean, if it helps, I always have this argument with myself where I feel like if I have medication, is it really me? Because it's changing my personality. But a lot of my friends and family say if it helps, that should be the person that you are. I'd rather be the happier version of me.
Because when you're first going through it, you think it's only happening to you, but it's not. Like you say, it's happening to everyone. But there's always people who've gone through the same thing.
Young men need, I won't say role models for mental health. I don't mean it like that, but you know what I mean when I say that they need men they can relate to coming out and with these issues, because it will give them the confidence and realise that it's actually these days it's pretty normal to have mental health issues. A big majority of people in this country at some point in their lives, and in every country I'm sure, will suffer with some kind of mental health issue, whether that's just brief depression, whether it's some anxiety, it's long-term depression, whatever it might be. Mental health is becoming the norm these days rather than, you know, the exception.
A cause like Get Talking is so important, and it destigmatising and showing that a lot of people do understand. I think talking's a massive thing, because just every human wants to be connected with, everyone wants to understand each other and be understood. So I think talking's language is the way we would do that the best.
It's the biggest killer in men under 45. The fact it's a problem is obvious. The fact it's not obvious is a problem.